Ladies and gentlemen, I am making this video a little bit later than I wanted to in the overall scope of Watcher of Realms, but regardless, thank you for joining me here today. We are going to be talking about potentially still one of the best fighters for taking down any sort of boss-related content, and certainly still a very, very good fighter for usage in the arena, as well as any sort of PvE content really that exists inside the game. And that is going to be the Monkey Man himself, Sun Wukong. So this guy is pretty fantastic. We did just have a guaranteed summoning for him as well, so a lot of you guys will have picked him up during that, during the 200 summons event there. I have mine at A4, so I am trying to get him to A5, so I'm just waiting for essentially another event to come around, or potentially a couple of soulstone drops from the guild boss. I'm sure that'll happen any day now. I'm holding out hope. So let's go ahead and take a look at him and his kit and what makes him so fantastic. So his talent is a big part of that. So his talent is basic attack. The third basic attack summons one Sage's clone within the ultimate's range. What is a Sage's clone? Well, it inherits 100% of his attributes. Each basic attack deals 40% damage to one adjacent enemy. The Sage's clone takes 50% more damage. So essentially, he can have up to 3 of these guys existing at a time, and it's going to get 100% of his attack, his HP, his attack speed, crit rate, crit damage, all that, right? It gets 100% of his stats, and this is post-deployment stats, so not his base stats or anything like that. It includes gear that you put on him as well. And this is important because you do obviously want to have attack speed, you want to have crit rate, you want to have crit damage, all that sort of good stuff. Now, they're doing 40% damage, so this is going to total up to, what is that, 120% damage overall that you'll be getting from the Sage's clones if he has 3 of them out on the field at a time. This also means generally that you'll want to make sure that he has enough attack speed to really keep these guys up. He gains 1 stack of Undaunted Might every 30 seconds up to 5 stacks. So, Undaunted Might, rather. Each stack increases damage dealt to elites or bosses by 1%. So this is up to a 5% damage increase after he's been on the field for a certain amount of time. If summoning Sage's clone is not possible, or if there are already 3 Sage's clones, the third basic attack will instead increase the hero's attack by 20% for 15 seconds, which is an insane attack increase when you think about it, right? So that's 20% of his post-deployment attack for 15 seconds, and if he has enough attack speed, he can be getting this attack increase like almost all the time, right? It's crazy how often he can have it up. Now let's go ahead and take a look at his basic. Deals 120% damage to one enemy. Very basic attack, right? Nothing too special there. Golden Cudgel Strike passive. Each basic attack has a 25% chance to deal 200% damage and inflict stun. If the enemy is immune to stun when triggered, it instead deals an extra 200% damage one time. So, essentially, each basic attack can do up to 400% damage against an enemy if they are immune to stun, which is pretty insane. We have the Golden Glare passive. When the hero triggers Golden Cudgel Strike, he gains 1 stack of Sunder. What is Sunder? This guy is stacking up a lot of things in his kit, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen. Sunder can stack up to 5 times, rather. Using the ultimate at full stacks consumes all Sunder stacks. The ultimate consumes full stacks of Sunder, enabling the hero to ignore 60% of the target's defense for 15 seconds, right? So, already, we haven't even looked at his ultimate. This guy is crazy, right? He can summon clones of himself. He can basically stack up and do more damage to bosses. He can then trigger stuns. He can trigger essentially like extra damage bursts, and he also increases his attack, which is insane. But his ultimate is where it gets really, really freaky. Now look at that ultimate range. This guy has essentially like vortex range, but on a damage dealer, which is pretty crazy. So Splitting Hairs deals 100% damage 18 times to one enemy and inflicts stun. So he's doing 1800% damage to one enemy as well as stunning them, which makes him fantastic for use in something like Semra. It makes him fantastic inside basically any guild boss that has a shield. So you're looking like Abyss 1. You're looking certainly Semra as well for busting through that, right? As well as the regular Drake's Chasm for the shield breaking there. And again, look at this guy's ultimate. He can be placed in certain areas where he can ultimate and it goes across barriers. He can be placed on certain maps in areas where he can ultimate and it it just simply is out of his normal range, right? Because if we look at his regular attack range, it's just 2 tiles in front of him, but his ultimate fills out really nicely like that. It is fantastic. We'll go over the awakenings in just one moment here, but this guy at A3 and A5 specifically is where things get crazy. So A1, the first time splitting hairs is triggered, so his ultimate in each battle, allies within 2 tiles gain Monkey Business. Monkey Business prevents death 1 time when the carrier takes fatal damage, dispels all debuffs on them, and restores 50% of their max HP. So this is pretty nice, right? 2 tile radius around him. They're going to gain this. It's very good for avoiding the slams inside guild boss or something like that, but it's not really a game changer. It's definitely not something that you're going to depend on, right? A2, attack plus 300, pretty basic stuff. A3, Sage's Clone has a 25% chance to inflict stun when dealing damage to enemies. If the enemy is immune to stun when triggered, it instead deals an extra 150% damage 1 time. If the hero has Golden Glare, he will also gain 1 stack of Sunder. So already you can really start to see how useful this awakening will be, right? Having his clones all be able to whack with stuns is so crucial, especially again for Semra. A4, penetration plus 8%, and then A5 is where it's really wacky. Increases the damage instances of splitting hairs, so again his ultimate by 18. So this effectively doubles the ultimate strength, right? He goes from dealing 1800% damage to 3600% damage, which is insane, and raises Undaunted Might's stack cap by 25. After using Splitting Hairs, Golden Cudgel Strike's trigger chance increases by 35% for 12 seconds. So let's get this straight. His A5 makes it so his ultimate is literally twice as strong, and it means that he can do an extra 25% damage to elites or bosses, right? So generally, without the A5, you're going to have him sitting at a 5% bonus. After this, it's going to go all the way up to a 30% bonus, right? It is astronomical what a difference this A5 makes, but rest assured, even at A4, A1, or A0, Sun Wukong is still a fantastic unit for so many areas in the game. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how we build him, the gear we want on him, and all that sort of good stuff. So, Artifact, first of all, I would highly recommend his exclusive. If you didn't pick this up during the event, I don't know what you're doing, man. You got to get a copy of this. So, increases damage by 30%. Summoning Sage's Clone additionally restores 6% rage. So, this is basically the best in slot damage increase for him. And it also gives him a lot of additional rage regen as well, which is very cool. Now, in terms of the gear, I'm going to go ahead and quick change him over into his Wukong gear, which is usually on Kane. So this is his build here. So we have 25, almost 26k on the attack. We have a 1.6 second attack interval, which means he's at a 321 speed. We got 112 and then 300 on the crit rate and crit damage. And ladies and gentlemen, we are breaking new ground here on this channel because we have him at 61.5% rage regen. Usually on this channel we have like 0% rage regen on any of our heroes, but this is a monumental day. Now, if I were to tweak this build, I would say you probably want a bit more speed on him. For some of the really late, really end game builds, I'm seeing this guy up over like 400 speed, which is pretty crazy. And you definitely want a little bit more rage regen, in my opinion, as well. Now, in terms of the gear pieces, this is how they're looking. So definitely some decent gear pieces here. Certainly, I won't deny that. But we don't really have any of like the quad rolls on him or anything like that. So they all certainly could be better as well. Now, in terms of the right-hand side gear, your Soulbound Arcana is probably going to be the best in slot for like 99% of players who are going to be using Sun Wukong, so getting that ultimate damage increase. Again, we always say this, but with Soulbound Arcana, this is any ultimates that's cast, so not just Sun Wukong. So you can use a Diao Chan and just spam her ultimate to charge everybody's Soulbound Arcana up if you want to. Now, you can also run him inside Infernal Roar, though I would not recommend it because the most damage is coming from his ultimate as well as his passive damage that he can trigger, right? Proc. So, you know, the Infernal Roar is not going to benefit those damage instances. Now, Cataclysm is also going to be a decent way to go. Extends the, so upon landing a crit hit with basic attack, increases the hero's damage by 10% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So it's not, you know, a bad way to go, certainly. But, you know, it's an option, right? If you happen to have Cataclysm gear laying around, certainly feel free to go ahead and use it. As you can see, if I were to switch over to this Cataclysm gear, I'd actually probably have a bit of a stronger build, especially if I went with it all on the right side. But it is what it is. We're going to be showcasing him in Soulbound Arcana. Now, in terms of who you want to use him with, him and Kagiri are a fantastic pairing, right? Because they're both from the Infernals. If you have a Toreador, he's going to be one of the best. He's going to be one of the best faction lords for doing this, because obviously Sun Wukong is based around how many basic attacks he's doing to summon his minions, right? His clones, and Toreador has the chance of getting an extra basic attack, which is pretty cool. And you can also use him with Wrath, right? But obviously Nightmare, I think I said Infernal, I meant Nightmare. So Nightmare is absolutely stacked for units, right? So like Moradin, you have Hatsuit, Yuri, Abomination's pretty okay, Salazar, Kagiri, Twyla, Sun Wukong in this faction, Arrogance, and Volca, as well as Lust. Like, you have a lot of options that you can run him with. So this guy is absolutely sensational. And if you're wondering why he looks a little bit different, well, this is his default skin, but basically everybody was given this Infernal Ascendant skin, which is pretty cool stuff. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at him inside Guild Boss 1, so inside the Drake's Chasm, if it'll actually let me navigate over to there. So we're going to go into Nightmare 4. We're going to take out basically everybody and bring in just a few select units. So we're going to bring in Diao Chan as well as Airless. We're going to bring in Toreador and Sun Wukong. So we're going to do that. Our Toreador, getting him as the Lord so that Sun Wukong has the Lord. And then we'll also bring in like a... we could bring in a Moradin just to get the defense down and everything like that. So we'll go ahead and test this, and we'll just show you how good Sun Wukong is. Now, we're not going to use Moradin on the first run, just because I really want to showcase Sun Wukong in his own glory, so I don't want to steal any of the showcase. I'm going to go ahead and place him here. We're going to place Diao Chan here. We're going to place Airless here. And we're going to take a look at the damage he's able to do. Now, obviously, when he summons those clones, due to his exclusive artifact, he's going to get additional rage regen. So as you can see, we get the huge bursts of damage there, and we're already up over 4 million damage, which is pretty crazy. Now, obviously, his summons, they're taking a lot of damage. You can't heal them, so they're eventually going to die, but that's perfectly fine, because it means that every third basic attack of his is just going to go ahead and summon yet another clone. And he's going to get more rage regen for that. They're then going to have a chance to stun. They're going to be doing damage. This guy is absolutely sensational. We're about to come up to the shield here, and I'll show you just how quick this guy can pop shields, right? So boom, and the shield is gone, basically, right? It doesn't exist anymore. It's not on this earth with us. It is out of here. And we're already at 19 million damage, which is pretty crazy. And as a matter of fact, it may not seem like it, but his minions do actually add a lot of damage to the overall tally. So as you can see there from the dragon, you can see them inflicting anywhere between about 59 to 80 to 90k. So they're certainly doing decent amounts of damage. If he was A5, this would obviously be a lot better, because his ultimate would be, once again, literally twice as strong, right? So you'd go from the 18 all the way up to the 36 procs of damage. You'd still get the stun, and then you do also get the extra stacks of was it Sunder, that allows him to do damage to the boss. So obviously, as you can see, a very, very significant damage dealer. Now we're going to go ahead and run a Moradin with him this time. We're going to give the I didn't mean to do that, so we're going to play Sun Wukong first and then Diao Chan, so that she gives him the Wings of Grace bonus. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Wings of Grace, basically, of course, just being an upgraded version of Invigoration. So, as you can see, he has the attack plus 12%, which he gets, of course, from the Diao Chan. Now, this is an A4 Sun Wukong going against an A0 Moradin. They both have fairly similar builds in terms of the actual stats, though I do believe Moradin is in Infernal Roar, so we're really going to see what's possible here. Moradin, of course, does bring the magic damage as well as the physic damage up or increase, right? So the damage taken is increased by 20%. Now, if you were smart, what you would do is you'd go ahead and trigger the ultimate of Sun Wukong after Moradin has triggered his ultimate, but I wasn't smart, so it is what it is. As you can see, though, They're both fantastic damage dealers. They're both doing an absolute ton of damage to the boss, which is pretty cool. We got just the tail end of the Sun Wukong's ultimate there, and he was still able to do like big damage to the boss. As you can see, we're hitting for, I think it's Sun Wukong's coming in with like the over 300k hits there. We're hitting some for like 700k as well. There's some big damage numbers happening here. So we'll go ahead and pop Moradin this time, so we get them up there, and then we'll go ahead and pop the Sun Wukong. And as you can see, we have just so many procs of 214,000 damage. So that's going to be his ultimate. 214 times, 18? So that's a lot of damage, to say the least. Well over 1 million, right? This guy is absolutely nuts. But that being said, this is essentially going to be the showcase for Sun Wukong. There are obviously lots of areas that you can use him that are not the Drake's Chasm. This is just where I like to showcase all of the heroes that I may be doing reviews on. It may not be the most applicable content for every player inside the game, because, you know, there's plenty of other endgame areas you can use him. He's also in my Abyss team. He's in my Semra team, all those sorts of good things. And he does a fantastic job in both those areas as well. Now, if you're interested in seeing content more dedicated to those specific areas, go ahead and leave me a comment down below with what you'd like to see. Let me know where you guys use Sun Wukong and what sort of stats you got on the build. Lastly, thank you all so much for watching. My Discord's linked down below if you'd like to hop in there. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.